All right, so we are here now in another episode of the Social Marketing Hour with my friend and client, Dr. LivinGood. And before I let him introduce himself, I can tell you that this individual is somebody very special to us here at AGM Marketing. He's a great content unicorn. You know, you've heard me talk about the subject of content unicorns many times, and not everybody can do what they do. And he's here today visiting us at the office. He is a DC and he's a certified natural doctor, natural practitioner. He's been practicing for 12 years. He doesn't practice anymore because he's creating content at scale right now and helping a lot more people at a wider scale. But he has an amazing company, which is called LivinGood Daily. He's one of those guys that I know he has so much value to give that I wanted to put him on the camera and I wanted to put him on the podcast so he can talk about his process and he can talk about how he's been able to impact so many people. So Dr. LivinGood, so great to have you on the show here today with us.
So a lot of people ask me, is your name actually Dr. LivinGood, or is that something like AGM came up with as a marketing strategy? It's like actual name, no choice.
I saw your ID. I can attest to that. It's incredible, but it's true.
It is. Well, no, I get the blessing now of being a doctor in practice for almost a decade and going on 12 years now. But the last couple of years, the demand of people all over the country for the message that we have, getting our content out, has grown so much. I'm not able to practice, but my wife, was a cardiac intensive care nurse. She's no longer able to do that either and produces content. And just our mission in our life is all about helping people out of this sick care system that we have in our country and guiding them through real health.
Amazing. And you guys have helped a lot of people. And I see the impact every day. And it's something that, again, for me, it gives me goosebumps and it gets me excited every day because, like I say to my staff over here, we're not just flipping burgers here. We're really creating a difference in the lives of people. We're impacting them. We're making people better. Sometimes people like you that create a lot of content at scale, you don't even realize yourself the impact that you're creating on people because it goes so beyond. Some people once in a while will comment and they would engage and they will let you know. Yeah. But that's just a majority of that, like a minority. The great majority, they're just living a better quality of life because of what you're doing, and you usually don't even find out about it.
Well, your staff member just grabbed me in the hallway.
Exactly.
It's just like, I've been editing your videos and couldn't help but listen. And now I'm down 15 pounds. I'm doing exercise, and she's like feeling better than she has in a long time. So it's, yeah.
Which, by the way, is something that it's one of those special things in this world, and we should talk about this in this particular podcast because we live in this unique era in which we can help people at scale. This was not possible.
That's right.
In the 1980s or even in the 1990s.
I would say 10 years ago even.
Correct. Correct. So the fact that you can put videos out there and create content and save people from bad health, from bad conditions, from whatever the issues are that they have going on, because I know you cover a lot of different subjects. It's something that is quite special for this particular era that we live in. And, a lot of people take it for granted.
So needed.
It's so needed and it's so unique. So talk to me about your responsibility over spreading your message and why you're not, like, you came to AGM because you wanted us to help you implement a similar system to what we did for Dr. Berg, right? That he impacts a lot of people. How do you feel this responsibility over people in this particular environment of helping them and impacting them? What can you tell me about that?
I'll just go all the way back from, a little bit of the origin story of where it started. I was in doctorate school. This is probably 14 years ago. And I get this phone call from my mom. Step into the hallway and she's bawling. I remember exactly where it was. I remember the pattern on the carpet, and it's the call you don't want to get. And so mom's bawling, "Mom, what's going on?" "It's your dad. His heart just shut down. He's being airlifted to Mayo Clinic." So before that point, my dad has to pass a physical every year, very strenuous one, to drive a truck for a company. And he's on no medications. You would have looked at him and said, he's super healthy. Here I am getting the phone call and he's 51 on a helicopter. And then I see him go through over the next 2 years, something that I'm trying to prevent every single person listening to this or that I can get in front of from ever having to go through. And that's the American sick care system. Because over the next 2 years, he just bounces from doctor to doctor to doctor, and every one of them has their diagnostics, their diagnosis, and their drug.
Wow.
And so that he has on 15 medications, and he has an open heart surgery. And then the inflammation got so bad from the conditions that he had. It went from his heart to inflammation. It knocked his hearing out. So now my dad's deaf. He can't drive. He can't work. He can't do anything he wants to do because he doesn't have the most important thing that we all need, including the entrepreneurs listening, your health. So I got to make a decision. We can allow him to stay in one of the top hospitals in the country, Mayo Clinic, and continue to get sick care, or we got to figure out how do we actually get him healthy? Like, we got to build health. So I pull him out of the hospital, move him in with my wife and I. She starts to become his nurse. And then we just start figuring out a system of, all right, every day we're going to focus on building health, and we're just going to get 1% better every day. And if we can do that, 30 days from now, we're 30% better.
Wow.
And so little bits at a time. Long story short, my dad moves in with us. 90 days later, walks into my living room, and he has this box. He hands this box to me. And I'm like, what's this? He said, all of his medications. And he gave them to me. He'd been weaning himself off of the medications. And I still have that box with all his drugs. So we send him home. He's able to bike again and fish again. And sees me, gets married, meet his grandbabies. Amazing. Got his health back. So the responsibility then at that point is I had a responsibility to know what I knew. There are thousands of people in this town we're sitting in right now, millions of people across the country. If I knew something that could help them, then it is an obligation to me to get up every day and find out a way to get in front of them to prevent them from ever having to go down the same road as my dad. So
I get goosebumps. That's amazing.
It's the biggest test becoming the biggest testimony. And then I had a responsibility to share it. And so that's what I believe most doctors should be doing and want to do, but they don't have the system or the voice or the reach to be able to do it.
That's right. It's amazing. And it's that goes in line with that quote that we've heard for a long time: with great power comes great responsibility.
That's right.
It's something that is, I could say, understated for sure. Extremely important. You have an ability to impact people, to make them better, to change their lives. Every single day that you don't do something with that ability, you're becoming less and less of, I could say, a person that is responsible. That's all it is. You're irresponsible to an extent.
Yeah. And I think there's probably a lot of people listening right now that you might not have found it that clear cut. But my favorite quote is a Mark Twain quote, and it's the 2 greatest days in your life: the day you're born, the day you find out.
Wow.
The day my dad handed me that box is the day I found out why. Now, I didn't know the how, but if you can understand the why, you can learn the how. You help all of us learn the how, but you've got to get really clear on that why, what you're doing and what you've been put here to do, what the purpose is. And when you can blend business and entrepreneurship with that kind of purpose, there isn't a job you won't do, a task that won't get done. You'll go through the walls because you're tied to that way bigger thing. And I think that's the absolute key for what a lot of people listening need to hear.
It sets you on a path. Yep. And that path is going to have ups and downs, and it's all part of it. But you are on that path, which goes back to, I guess, the basic of all of it. The fundamental of that path is that mindset, right? That discovering that why is your mindset.
Because you'll give up. It's too hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that moment, you're like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what my life is going to be all about from now on, because I have this power that can impact people. Look at what happened to my father. I got to do that in front of more people. That's amazing. And what I always tell, Doc, to people, because not everybody is in your industry.
Sure.
Right? It's like I have a lot of people that they have agencies like me, or they have physical products, or they sell on Amazon, or they have like services to sell, whatever that may be. We all have something as an entrepreneur. Anybody watching this show, listening to this podcast, they have something of value to give to the world. That value, in some way, shape, or form, makes that other person or family or business better.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And if you don't put this information in front of them, their life is somehow not better. You are making them better. If your business, if you don't I like to talk about the subject of discovering your superpower, which you described it as your how, your why. Right? Your why is this is what I got to do because this is what I know how to do, and this is how I can impact people. That's the same thing that I would describe as superpower. Your ability to help people. Like my superpower is helping people understand marketing and helping people understand the steps to execute dissemination of their message and getting in front of as many people as possible. That's what I do. And I love it. And I'm passionate about it just like you do. And sitting in tables like this are effortless because for me, it's so natural. I never have to put energy behind creating content. It happens naturally because I really believe in what I do. So the point is that as a business owner, you have an ability to impact people. And if you don't really have one, your business doesn't really have that much value. Products or services, you're not really helping somebody else get better. So your brand is going to be less valuable. So for anybody that's watching this, if you're not a health expert, it doesn't matter. Creating that content, getting on that routine, getting people to find you and see you, grabbing attention. That's basically how you get into the state of creating an impact and building a brand and a legacy, etc. Right? So my question to you, Doug, is you're really good at this system of creating processes for content creation, and you've been doing it for a while. What is something that you can give as advice to people so they can do this content consistently and leverage these organic opportunities, these platforms to help them reach more people? What are tips that you can give them on your systematic process for content creation?
I think the frustration comes from when I initially started creating content, is that I didn't have enough focus on the initial prospecting machine, where you're initially connecting with those people and then giving them a low-level way to get involved with you very quickly. So a lot of people would put a lot of focus on a content video, but then it didn't go anywhere. You weren't leading them anywhere. And I think what we figured out really early on was we just did free books. I wrote the story of my dad and then how I walked them through step by step. Here's what I did when he lived with me. And I just captured that experience and then made it into a book. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to charge people for it. We just give it away for free. They cover the shipping. We send it to them. But it was an initial way for them to engage with us, start to consume, and start to get some progress.
And you still have this book, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is our number to this day.
It's the best thing that you got going on.
Correct.
Because they can reverse engineer it, right? And they can see what you did to help.
You can immediately start getting them progress.
So to tell the audience how they can access this book.
Just go to livinggoodDailyBook.com.
LivinGoodDailyBook.com.
Send you the right link. Correct.
LivinGoodDailyBook.com.
And it's a free book, and then you just cover the shipping. I send it to you. But if you can help someone make some progress, we have this human need to make progress. All of us get frustrated if we're not making progress. Well, step back from that and think about if you're starting to create content, it can get really frustrating if you're not helping your people make some progress and engage with you. Then you just get stuck in you're just creating more information, you're creating more noise. And I've been there so many times throughout this journey as we got it started. But as soon as I started to figure out, geez, if we can send them into something really easy that was valuable for them, then that customer, that follower, that could start making progress in their life. So we knew if we could start having them lose weight, having a testimonial like we just heard in the lobby, then that's where everything started to change for them, is getting them results quickly, giving them value quickly. And so we don't be afraid to give that away up front, or to offer them something quickly that's really easy for them to use to start making that progress. We put a lot more focus into that. Then it was easier to make content to feed into that machine, so to say, as we were starting to build the followers and build people that were getting results.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, which is something that I'm 100% on board with, you find ways to give people value first before you start making them a bunch of offers.
Correct.
Somehow you got to show them.
Still have a dollar amount on it, but it better be very, very small.
That's right. Like the book, for example.
Correct.
You pay for the shipping.
Right.
And I'm going to give you this value for free.
Yep.
I spent all this time fixing serious problems that my father had.
Yep.
And I have documented the whole process, which you can find out what works for you and get some results yourself. All you got to do is pay for some shipping.
The power of that too is I put all my effort into that one resource that was very valuable, made sure it was valuable, was answering the questions that my people needed answered, and the work was done.
Wow.
Then I could just put focus on videos feeding into that, or content feeding into that, so people can find access to it. But you can put the effort in one time and make something great, and it'll live on for a long time and produce for you.
Absolutely. I like to describe also marketing in a similar way. Like the subject of marketing for me is a subject of attention, not a subject of revenue.
Yeah.
That's why my company is not called Revenue Grabbing Media. My company is called Attention Grabbing Media. I'm all about attention, and it's never a focus of dollars. It really hasn't been that case. And that's something that has been taught from my beginning, early stages of entrepreneurship, because my father was very into creating impact. My father never talked about revenue.
Yep.
He always talked about attention, impact, influence, making the lives of other people better. Yep. What I've noticed along the way is that if you really have that attention, revenue follows. It just happens, almost like a byproduct, right? Growing a business is something that will happen naturally if you create impact. Yep. And that's the best way to go about it in this particular environment that we live in. By the way, for those of you guys that are watching this show, this guy right here, Dr. LivinGood, he's the founder of a company called LivinGood Daily. That's the name of the brand, right? And they are one of the fastest growing companies in the country. I'd like to just mention that, not because we're, again, not talking about the subject of business or money. We're talking about the subject of impact.
It's results. Care about getting that person that is your avatar that you're going after, get them results, and reverse engineer from there. So, I mean, even you're going to get their attention if you can get their results. And I love that you're leading with that and the person, the audience, not you or your revenue. My team, we hardly talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. All I want to see all day long hitting our communication feed is what are the results we got today? Where's the life? The currency of our movement is the life change that's happening. Can we prevent another person from ending up like my dad? Absolutely. If we do that, the rest of it is there. So you got to define that for your business, to define how can I get that person results and what's an easy thing I can create for them as that initial step to get them progress, right?
Get those results.
And then you just need to amplify that, which is exactly what you guys help us do.
That's right.
Yep.
It does start with attention though. Like you got to get attention somehow,
Correct.
right? Because if you don't have attention, you don't have the ability to get that person to try something that you're trying to get these people to go for. So in the case
You got to
of
understand what result they want and then make something that's loud enough to get their, to get them to look at you.
Correct. So anyways, I believe you were number 6 on your Inc. 5000 list. Was that right?
That's right.
So out of 5,000 companies, you were the 6th fastest growing company in the country in 2021.
Yep.
That's amazing. You're making me feel like I did a terrible job this last year. We were number 3,000 and something on our second year, but that's incredible. It's an honor for me to work with like amazing people like you for sure. It's quite something. But again, that number 6 result, right? It's just an indication of impact and results. Because you can't really grow a company consistently unless you're giving people results. When somebody gives you finally the trust and they open up their wallets and give you their money, you better do everything that you humanly can to give that person what they came for. Otherwise, your business will stop growing. That's just the way it works. So it's something that I can tell you we all can definitely get better at consistently. Not taking anybody for granted, no matter how many clients you got. Every single person that decided to give you their money, open up their wallets to you, that person had options out there. They gave you their money and they gave you their trust. Go out there, give them results. And after you give those results, then your company can keep on growing.
They will tell you what they want next too. Just listen, interact with them. Set up means for we do a live Q&A every single week. And I just get on and I answer questions for an hour straight. And that is so valuable for them, one, because they just want their questions specifically answered by a doctor. They don't want to go across town to get that information. But they're telling me constantly what their questions are, what their needs are, because I'm interact with them so much. So don't let that, internet wall be the barrier of really getting to know those people and interacting on the comments, commenting back, and or set up an opportunity to be on, like we were just talking about a webinar, to get that kind of feedback. You've got to open up some channels to know what are they after, and then you can go solve their problems, which you guys are fantastic at. I express stuff to you and you're like, we have a solution for that, because you're listening to what my needs are as an entrepreneur, and you're filling that need. Same thing with your customers.
I love it.
Yep.
Doc, so we can give people practical advice on how to get down the road of being content unicorns. Again, I have a lot of clients. I maybe have 7, 8 unicorns that I get to work with. You're one of those. So we can get down to like the tactics for you to create so much content. What is your process like? Because you're giving us a lot of content. We're editing it. We're making it omnipresent. We take your content and we go to TikTok and Facebook and shorts on YouTube, and we go all over the place with your content. And we're doing that as our responsibility. But without what you're doing, we got nothing to work with. So how do you go about establishing a process for yourself? What works for you? I know how my dad did it. My dad, and I'll tell you, and then I'll let you answer. My dad was very into his brand. And he had a lot of employees and hundreds of employees in Natural Seminar brand, but he was a content creator also. He passed away early last year, and he was irreplaceable guy, right? We're still reaching more people than we did before he passed, which is incredible in itself. But his process was he would create 10 videos in one day. He would sit down one day, all day long, and create 6 to 10 minute videos. And don't get out of that room until he had those videos created. He walks out, he keeps on working and living life. And then when the director was running out, who still works with us, he would be like, Frank, I'm running out of content. I need to get you to create some more content. What is your process for creating massive amounts of content? I know you have the live shows, but your content that we use that everybody can see across all these platforms. Tell us how you come up with it.
So a little bit of the lead up to it is, keep in mind, I was in a practice as a doctor for 10 years leading up to this. So if you're in the service industry right now and you're serving people on a daily basis, you have so many angles for ideas for content because of what I was learning, for example, from those patients. What did they ask me? What kept coming up? That's where that's early on where I started was what are the most frequent questions I'm getting from the people that I'm trying to serve? Because if I can answer that for the person right in front of me in my service business as a doctor, someone in Idaho has the same question. So that's where sometimes what content to make, and then the shows tell me to do that. And then I got to this point where I'm like, all right, I do the same thing. So I spend a day researching. This could be a half a day, could be a quarter day, but I just want to make sure my stuff is dialed in. And so I am coming up with, okay, what topic do I want to cover? How can I make that interesting for attention? And then what are the facts and sort of the breakdown of how I'm going to talk about this? Is it bullet points? Is there 13 facts on this one? And then do I need some research also to dust myself up? Because it's sometimes hard to remember all the things.
Right.
And so now I have this layout, and I'll see ideas all week long where there's, that was a cool thing that I saw on this post over here. I saw this on TV. This was news this week. So I'm constantly coming up with ideas all week of like, that's something I want to talk about. And I have a running list of topics that I could potentially touch on.
Do you use like a notes on your iPhone?
Yeah, just simple. Yeah, and you start to tell like stuff like that would be interesting, or like I would like to talk about that,
right.
Or that's really buzzworthy right now. Because when you can cross pop culture and what the world is already talking about, and then being an expert and being helpful if it is your arena. So I pay attention to the news a lot. Like if when the virus hit, that's what I'm talking about, because I have a solution that can actually help millions of people during that time. So you pay attention to those things that matter in your industry. And then, I get in the room. I do my live show that morning. Immediately after that, it's cameras on. I'm not coming out of this room until I'm done. It's a grind some days that I have to speak back to that little voice that's like, well, maybe you could work on this project or go over it. Like, you don't feel it every day. You don't
got to push yourself.
You do have to. And I'm like, no, I know how I'll feel if I get this done. And I'll walk out of that room a few hours later with 6, 7, 8, 9 different 6 to 10 minute videos that are going to go turn into hundreds of pieces of content.
And then you forget about it because it goes into the machine.
It does.
And then your team, in this case, our team, is going to help you put this machine together that is coming from your incredible content, which is another example of like, you can't really do this on your own. You got to build a team around you, and that's going to be essential. Now, you don't have to start there. If you don't have a team or you cannot afford a team, you can just get the content going yourself. And then you can build up to the point that you can actually have a team to help you.
You could do one video a week and just focus on, okay, if I edited that one video and I did a little bit with peel off a couple quotes from it, chop up a couple segments, you would have something. But to turn into like 6, 7 videos a week, it was all my effort just to make all those videos. But then to be able to hand it to a team like your guys' where you can just amplify it. That inspires me and motivates me to make sure I got the 6 done every single week.
It's the correct word.
Trying to do that on my own, all that, no way. Like I would be buried.
Absolutely.
But you can handle one and you maybe start there just to start understanding. I like to be a student of it. I like to know the strategy. I don't have to do all of it. I don't know how to run a Facebook ad, but I understand it. I like to understand those things as I go. That's
absolutely
anchors me to it.
All the successful brand owners, content creators that I've ever worked with, including my dad, always wanted to understand as best as possible the different areas.
Yeah.
There was no ignorance. They wanted to know. At some point, one of my highlights of my life, my dad and I used to do seminars together with our church. And obviously, he was a person of influence. I was a person of influence on my side. So one of my favorite moments in my life with my father was when he delivered a seminar, and I wasn't there at that moment. And I came in at the end of the seminar, and he was surrounded by people, and he was answering questions about the subject of marketing, Facebook advertising, how it works reaching people. And I was like, well, look at this guy. Amazing how he's now like, I don't need to now talk about marketing anymore. So it was a proud moment. And it just made me realize that the real smart man, the real smart entrepreneur, the one that really has a desire to impact people, they really want to understand every single piece of it. You don't need to master it yourself. You need to do it yourself, but understanding is a great part of it.
This is what we were talking about before. What starts to become is that you go back to that why and you find that why, and this is a purpose and something I want to do with my life to make people's lives better. And then you start to become a student of the game that you're playing, but you realize it's a long game. And what it's more about each week and each day, what we were talking about, is creating the habits around continuing to get better as a student, continuing to get better at your craft. So whether it was researching, creating videos, understanding how the videos were going to be divided up, what I need to make more, spending time in the comments, talking with the customers that I'm trying to serve, we were discussing like the habitual side of it. It's the same thing with health. Like you get health when you practice it every single day.
Repetition.
You get better at this, whatever game you're choosing to play in business, better every day when you're a student of it and when you have habits around it. So the video side of it has definitely been a big habit to just, it's got to happen.
I like
it's
the word
eating or sleeping.
I like that word habit, right? It's just, you got to make it into a habit. Just like I can tell you, dog, historically, I haven't been great. I've been an athlete since I was young. Like I've been into sports. I'm a big sports guy, but I've hated working out and just getting my body in very fit condition physically. I'm doing that now. I absolutely hate it every single day. I don't go out and I have a machine called, I was mentioning that to you earlier. It's called Tonal, and it's a digital weights machine. And I go and I do it every day. I absolutely hate it. Especially because I work all day long. Yeah. I get home late. Yep. I got 4 kids at home. I give them some attention. And by the time that they're all asleep and gone, it's like 10 o'clock. And I go and I hit the tonal machine at that time. I never want to go out there and do it. Yep. But the repetition is the one thing. And I can tell you what made me realize that I could do it. When I realized that entrepreneurship, building a brand and a business and doing what we're doing is exactly the same as building a body. It's the same thing. There's one thing and one word only, and that's repetition. If you want to be a successful business owner, you got to go to work every day and you got to repeat the actions that you're doing every single day that are successful. And you do it over and over again. And sometimes you try out a strategy and that one doesn't work and you throw it away and try a new one. In the world of building a body or being healthy, you got to repeat those actions every day. And some people start building their body for 2 or 3 weeks and then they don't see the magic. And then they give up. Yep. But it's not like that.
It's the same thing in, marketing and health, so paralleled. A drug, short-term, covering it up. As soon as you stop, the problem comes right back. A diet, short-term, thinking, there's a start and an end date. A program, start and an end date. You start to transition into this lifestyle of a business, and you used a key term there of what I would refer to as feedback loop learning, where you go try something. You don't just repetitionally keep failing. You learn and say, okay, that didn't work this time. What will? So it's no different than someone trying to lower their blood pressure. You track it each day. You try something. If it works, keep doing more of it. If it didn't, don't do that again, and then get better the next day. So I think business is exactly like that. And then you start building habits around that thing that you hate. Like I hated filming videos, probably like you hate working out. So I've got to find what's the ideal time when I know I'm going to give myself the best chance. I know if I have a cup of coffee around 9:30, I will move mountains and do about anything you ask of me. Friday afternoons, I know there's a weekend coming. I'm going to go spend time with my kids. I will take about any task you ask me to do. So there's a certain period of times when you got to like play to your strengths a little bit more. Right. So if you know you're going to slough off on the workout at the end of the day, don't wait till the end of the day to work out. Eat the toad first, which means take a big bite of that thing that is slimy and ugly and you don't like the taste of it. Get it done out of the day. And then at the start of the day, every time you think about that activity for the rest of the day, you're going to be encouraged by it. Not
because you got it done.
Because you got it done. Every time I think of my workout and it's 3 PM and I already did it, I feel good about my workouts as opposed to I'm dreading that thing. Once I get through my video filming time early in the week, every time I think about the videos, I already got 6 of them done. I feel good about that thing. That's the power of the habits.
Such a great point. Such a great point. Because you are every single day dreading. I dread it every day. I know I got to work out today, dog. I got to work out. And I freaking hate it. Yep. It is terrible for sure. That's a good point. I think it's something that you can just quickly adjust and just make that happen. And then you walk with your head held up high the rest of the day because you got it done and you were responsible.
Let alone if you did it the rest of the month or you're in a 90-day streak or a 6-month streak. Every time you think about working out, you're like, I'm doing it. Like you get strength over time when it becomes a habit.
Absolutely.
And every time you think about it, it can be encouraging instead of, at first, it could be a little discouraging.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And just to talk about the subject of content again, because I know people want it. This is something that people really, really want. Because a lot of people that I actually meet, they're camera shy. They're uncomfortable with being on the camera. They don't want to be maybe the face of their brand or whatever reasons that they have going on. But they all want to create impact. They really want to create impact. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to the story, Dr. LivinGood, like the fact that he increased his responsibility for the audience. If you go talk to people like Dr. Berg himself, He was camera shy.
Yep.
He hated talking to people. He had to get public speaking training. This is something that we all have a story around. Like when I got on my first stage in 2017, I was invited to speak because I had accomplished a lot of success. Mm-hmm. I was terrified of it. Like when I got on that stage in front of 50 successful business owners, I had like 10 seconds that I was about to bolt out of there. I don't know what the heck am I doing here talking. And then I got through it. And just like you have been mentioning during the interview, you got to build it up and you got to learn and get better at it. Just like riding a bike, just like building muscles, whatever it is, it gets better with time. It gets easier with time. And the challenge is just getting started, right? Just getting it going. And that's going to be the key. I can share with you, Doc, from my experience in the content creation, and you can tell me if you agree with this, becoming a content creator, right? What are the 3 important things to be a massive content unicorn and be able to grow a social media following and get attention? This is a big deal. So I realize this is something that, again, my creative director that worked with my dad, we had a podcast and we talked about this subject the other day. Number 1 is consistency. So you mentioned that if you can only do one, go ahead and do one. Consistency is going to be crucial. If you commit to putting together 7 videos a week, you better put 7 videos a week. It doesn't matter what happens. Governments, COVID hits you, you get sick. It doesn't matter what it is. You got to figure out to put 7 videos a week. And that's just the way it is. If you look at people like, for example, again, going back to yourself, Dr. Berg, no matter what, Dr. Berg is going to be on that live Q&A show every single Friday at 11 a.m. In 6 years, he's missed 2 of them for some emergency family reasons. Imagine that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Fridays, he's missed 2 of them. That is consistency.
I would never schedule Friday. Why? I know my life would interfere with it. So find that day that for him, that's the day. He knows he's never going to miss. You build those things at, I know mine's Wednesday. Like it's very rare I'm going to have a middle of a week blown up, So yes, build that consistency in. So completely, I would call what you're talking about a 1% rule. Just simply, if you haven't read Atomic Habits, this is where it comes from.
Atomic Habits?
Yes. 1%. You get 1% better today. Pick the area of business, money, content, whatever area, staff that you're struggling with. If you just got 1% better and you focused on that area for 30 days, you'd be 30% better in that area.
Wow.
Every month, if you focused on a different area of your business or of your content or of your growth and marketing, you would do 12 of those in a year. During that period of time, you'd be 365% better. We'll say 360. We gave you 5 days off to not improve. You are now 37 times better as a human being, as an entrepreneur, because 1% to the power of 365 is 37 times better.
Wow. That's
just with a little change, a little habit. You can't eat the elephant in one bite, little bits at a time. Just take one step today. And you're on the yellow brick road and you can see the Wizard of Oz up ahead, but you can't see the yellow brick road. Sometimes all you can see in entrepreneurship is the next brick. And you're just kind of feeling in the dark a little bit and you take the next step and then the next step. And so you're 100% right. Just decide to show up and be consistent and take the next step and get a little bit better than you were yesterday. Not Gary V, not Dr. LivinGood, not like we're so comparative in the entrepreneurial space.
Absolutely, 100%.
It paralyzes you. Well, they have 400,000 shares and I'm trying to get 400 views. You can't compare that. You just need to get better than the version you were yesterday. Don't be different. Be you. You were uniquely created to be you. Just be a version 1. Update again today. Update again today. Update again today. Version 1.2 and then 1.3 and then 1.4. That's the actual game that you're in and the race that you're in. So that was point 1.
That's absolute fire.
There, so.
But very important, by the way, that you went deep into that particular point.
So much comparison.
Because it's so important. Yeah. By the way, people forget that all these powerhouses out there, all these content creators, all these guys with massive followings, think about it. At one point, they had zero.
Nothing.
They had nothing.
Nothing.
They all started somewhere. I have had that pleasure of seeing some of these guys built from scratch.
Yep.
Including my favorite one of all time.
What did they have that you don't?
Some of them
just had a willingness to step forward.
Correct. The mindset was there to get it going and understand what the future holds for them if they keep going at it.
Most all of my success I would accredit to if I could find one other person that was doing it well. I learned very well by looking. And if I can see that someone is being successful in an area that I was interested in being successful, I could play basketball all day long. I'm never going to make the NBA. It's never going to happen.
Not happening, right?
So I don't enter a fight I can't win. I don't enter a game I can't play and win. I'm just not interested. But if I see something I'm very interested in, if I can find that successful person in it, then that's how I learned very quickly, knowing that it can be done. So if there's someone successful in your industry or that,
you too can do it.
You can do it.
Absolutely.
It's the habits that they have. That's the difference. Those can be built.
Yeah, so it tells you that the fundamental of success for all these people starts with the habits, the mindset, the consistency to get it going, and it's never overnight. I can tell you because I lived it, that the first 6 months of my father creating content every day, he just kept on doing it, but internally, he felt like he was this crazy old man talking to himself to a camera because nobody was really watching it yet. But he kept on doing it, and he didn't give up until it caught fire. And today we influence the lives of 50, 70 million people a month via our content. A dream that he had was able to become a reality just because he put the habit in place and he became consistent at it. So that's number one.
Yeah, we got 2 and 3 still.
2 and 3, right? Yeah. So number 2 is quality of the message. Not quantity yet, quality of the message. Now, notice that I said quality of message, not quality of the videos. That's not what it's all about. Because, we have fancy studios now. It didn't start like that. I don't know if you know enough of my story, Doc, but I've accomplished my level of success in my industry. And I have a reputation, and especially on advertising and marketing and all these different areas. I sold $2.5 million of a course with a bed sheet from Amazon. That was the thing that I put on a wall with a couple of pins in the wall. And I was able to put a cardboard box, true story, and a laptop, which was $1,000 on top of that cardboard. And I had a boom mic going over that computer above my head, and a camera that I don't even use anymore, that I will use an iPhone before I would use that camera. And I sold $2.5 million of it. And I got on stage to win awards and stuff like that. And it helped a lot of people, many people that are watching this particular show right now. It wasn't about quality, I can tell you that much. But the quality of the message was there. I gave them actual value. And it's something that I can tell you that if you don't have that in place, your content, doesn't matter how consistent it is, it's not going to take off. And by quality of message, I'll let you talk about this a little bit, Doug. You have really good quality of message. Your message, somebody can absorb it, they can apply it to their lives, and they can say, this works. What is your thought on quality of message?
So I had the same beginnings. Like, there was a video that aired today on, it's a show I do most Fridays, and I had to get it out really quick. And so we raided a lady's house, and we raided her cupboards, her fridge, and her pantry. And it was a great video, but I did it on Saturday, and I had to edit it really quick so we could throw it in. I edited it on iMovie with some quick, that's how I've been since the beginning. So I think what you're saying there is, we're at this point with all the success we've had, and I'm still editing it because I just scrappy. You just got to get scrappy at first. And I'm amening to it's not the mic, it's not the video, it's not the backdrop. Grab your phone and press record.
That's right.
However, what you're saying is the preparation before that of, do you know who you're talking to? How are they suffering? So it doesn't take much for me to start thinking about, my dad was in that town. All he ever got was just a physical and someone to tell him he was completely okay. And the only time he was going to get any form of what we would refer to as healthcare is if he got sick. Now think about how backwards that is. The only way he could get attention for his health is if he loses it.
Wow.
There was no system in place, predictable system, predictable content, predictable information that people could turn into knowledge.
For prevention.
To help them before they ever got to that point. And
Terrible.
until we start going that way. So I became a student of that, a student of the suffering, realizing that I would sit down with doctors and they said, you're right, Dr. LivinGood. We should be more focused on being at the top of the hill instead of waiting at the bottom when people tumble down it and putting them in the ambulance. Maybe we should stand at the top and say, don't go down this hill. You don't know how to ski. You don't go down, you're going to hurt yourself, right? And so what I mean by that is, from a quality perspective, I tapped into the suffering of the people. And yes, health suffering might look different, cancer and suffering from that, or heart disease that my dad went through. That suffering looks a little different than maybe the industry that they're, the listeners are trying to solve. That's where the quality comes from for me. And then you have the interaction with them and you start understanding, this is where all their questions are. This is where the system just doesn't make sense. This is where it's inconvenient. And that's where you start making your message. That's the quality. But it doesn't matter what phone I hold up. I was just speaking straight to the person of, well, maybe you're sick because you don't ever move, you don't ever work out, and I just started speaking to the suffering of how to be the solution for them. So
right. And not get too into the vanity numbers of like, oh, it's only seen by 2 people, or like I got 4 likes, or like, just knowing that repetition, that habit, if you really have a conviction with your message and it's going to help people, eventually it will impact and create this effect.
That's why you've got to really focus on what are they suffering with, and you just haven't gotten good enough at answering that question for them yet.
That's right.
And as soon as you do, then the value will be there and they will start to respond and start to share. So it's a challenge every day then to look back and just say, how can my quality go up? How can I get a little bit better? So I'm consistently showing up. Now I've got that, hill I've gotten over. The next one is, can I show up and make it even better than last week? Where am I losing them? How can I have better strategies? That is where you can begin to look at other people that are doing really well. Ignore their bottom column of how many views, how many likes, how many shares. Just don't even pay attention to that part, because that will rock your confidence, which will then make you inconsistent, because you won't feel like doing it because you're like, I'm not that good at it. But you just want to watch them to say, and I saw the quality part. I think the key to it is humbleness.
I like it.
If you can just show up and be humble and say, you know what, I don't know a lot. So my job was find people that were doing it quality and then extract as much as I could from them. And in order to do that, I had to be as humble as can be to say, you know a lot more about this than I do, but I'm willing to learn right now. In today's world, so many people can be your mentor. You don't ever have to meet them.
That's right.
Someone watching you right now that might never meet, but you can extract information and just say they know a lot more than me, and I'm going to be humbled. I'm going to watch them, and I'm going to learn from them, and I'm going to get better with my own quality to this day. I could just say, I've got it figured out, but I don't. I can get better and reach more people if I continue to stay humble, figure out what they're doing better than I am.
Absolutely. One of the most amazing clients I ever had, he passed away also this last year. It's crazy. My 2 favorite clients that I had at that moment, Dr. Berg is on the list also, but I was able to work with this individual who's one of the most winningest, most decorated Grammy Award winning artists of all time. Yeah. Jazz legend. His name was 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗪.
Yeah.
And this guy, I believe he's number 3 or tied for 3 and 4 for the most Grammys ever in history. Like, he has won more Grammy than Beyonce, something like that, right? That massive.
Yeah.
So I got to work with him a lot, and it was amazing. And the one thing that my biggest lesson with him was that exact thing that you just said right now, the humbleness of it. He wrote a book teaching musicians, a work on musicians, to show musicians how he does what he does.
Yeah.
And the book was titled A Work in Progress. And he would always describe it. I get goosebumps when I think about it, because he would always describe himself. And this is a guy that's at the top of the game. Like, think about Miles Davis. Think about all the legends in the music industry. This guy was right up there with him.
Yeah.
It's one of those incredible people in this world that is very unique. He will still call himself always a work in progress. So that humbleness is so important. You, Dr. Berg, all these people, nobody's too big or too special. You really have a desire to give quality messages. And just to finish that particular point right there, because we're running out of time here. I don't want to keep you the whole day in this podcast. We can talk about this for hours and hours. It's so valuable. We're gonna have to do this again. But the point is that when you're talking about quality, specifically talking about at a micro level, one piece of content, something that Dr. LivinGood does really well, you want to be able to start that video and you want to end that video with exactly the product that you want to get to communicate to that person. Yeah. Like, you know what you're going to do in that video. You know what you're going to talk about. It's not really random unless you're doing a Q&A that's random. You know exactly how to start it, and you know exactly how to end it, and you know exactly how that's going to help somebody else. That's quality.
Yeah.
Because then that one person watches that video, applies it, and now they believe in you. So they come back for more, and you start getting repeat viewers, watchers, followers, and it snowballs.
I think it's huge what you said. I mean, just learning how to start it and end it. If you just got better at that today, would make a world of difference, because you get so nervous. And I used to land the plane I crash land sometimes, or I would draw it out, but look at the formula we're creating for everyone today. It's like helping you get over that consistency issue. The time of day you do it early, and then just be consistent and get a little bit better. And then now moving into understand the suffering of what your people are doing, get quality, and just be humble and look and be a student of what's around you. This is long-term thinking.
Yeah.
And if you're always a work in progress, I love that. It's just, you're going to do it, but you don't have to do it in the next 6 months. My goodness, give yourself the next 10 years. And what if you got 1% better for 10 years? What if you improved your quality every week for a year? Like, think how much better that would be. So I think it's this whole formula that we're kind of laying out here to really encourage people to.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen overnight. I'm 12 years into this thing, and I feel like a pup sometimes, or I don't feel deserving to be on one of those stages or be sitting here, because it almost feels like I have this drive of like, I'm not that.
We're not there yet, huh?
I'm not, gosh, I don't feel like I should be giving advice on this area yet, but that's actually what drives it. It's
humble.
That little, like,
I love it.
I don't feel like I should be giving you advice here, but I have some experience that I could speak from. And I think you need that little fire.
I can relate. I have the same exact feelings. Yeah. I had a similar feeling happening to me. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to Grant Cardone's office over there in Miami. Yeah. Only some of the top influencers with big lists and big audiences and doing great things were invited to that room. And it was 40 people. And I looked around and I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? I don't belong here. Yeah. You get these.
Just put yourself in that situation. That's how you grow.
That's right. You get this. They call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But it's something that humble
people probably feeling that right now.
Humble people experience that, right? Like the ones that don't let it get to their heads so much. They just keep on pushing. Again, I feel honored that you have trusted in us, and sometimes I have to pinch myself and be like, I got these incredible people that I get to work with every day, and it's something amazing. And sometimes
you never take it for granted.
Never take it for granted. Sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, wow, Jimmy right here behind the camera. I'm like, this guy is amazing, right? And I'm like, this guy, he works for us. It's amazing. So don't take anybody for granted. Understanding that we're all a work in progress, we're all getting better. That's really powerful. It's amazing. I mean, this is almost like a spiritual subject. It's very deep, very deep.
What is 3? I'm dying to know what 3 is.
Okay.
We didn't discuss this.
Okay, good. So this is a sequence,
we're
right?
We're creating a whole formula. We're baking a cake, and we didn't even talk about it before.
Totally. And here's the thing. You're already doing it, right? This formula, you're doing it, right? But I haven't officially talked to you about it. You got number 1, right? Which is, what is it? Consistency. You got number 2?
Quality.
We got the quality.
Yep.
And when you have those things in place and you are willing to do 7 videos a week, and you committed, and you signed a piece of paper,
you're getting
right?
better each week. You're getting higher.
You're doing
quality.
everywhere. Okay, so you got that quality of message, and you know how to start a message. You know how to finish it. You're giving value to people. You're seeing the engagement. Now, finally, you can be like, all right, let's go towards quantity.
Yep.
At that point, you can work on increasing quantity, and that's one of the reasons that you came to us.
Yep.
Because now you give me, let's say, somewhere around 30 videos a month. We convert that to 600 or 800 publications.
That's right.
So you take that one message that you're doing over and over again, 20, 25 times, 30 times a month, and then you turn it into hundreds, if not thousands. So at that point, once you have that dialed in, then we go into quantity.
Yep.
Because now you can leverage all these other opportunities out there that have the ability to help you catch audiences that otherwise are not available. If you post something at 6 o'clock in the morning, chances are that a lot of people are sleeping, but chances are that a lot of people are only watching at 6 a.m. and then they get to work and they don't consume anything else.
Yep.
So you got to take advantage of these platforms that allow you to find people at different times during the day where they are active, because it's not just about Facebook. Facebook has many different types of people using the platform every day. Yep. It's not just about YouTube. People watch content sometimes 6 to 8 o'clock p.m. It is their wind down time. So how about the ones that are watching content in the morning at 7 a.m.? So content at scale, particularly not on YouTube, because YouTube is more like a search engine, right? People will find you.
Yeah.
But on all these other platforms, Facebook, TikTok, on Instagram, all these other platforms, including Pinterest, these are feeds that they come and go and disappear.
Yep.
So quantity of message is essential on these platforms in order to increase your probability of getting this powerful message being done consistently in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah, and this is where you guys have helped us so much for it. My best advice for someone listening is pick one platform and figure out how to get consistent on that one first. Because if I'm making a video for Facebook, it's a different video than I would make for YouTube. It's a different length and completely different structure than I would make for Instagram or TikTok. And so you've now enabled to, when you get to scale, to take one piece and put it into all of them. But when I was starting off, I just had to focus on one and figure out how to get good at making a video, which built my confidence, which made me more consistent, and I was getting better and better and better quality.
Which in your case, it was YouTube.
No,
you
it's Facebook.
You were
Facebook
heavy on
is where
Facebook.
Yeah.
Now we're heavy on YouTube.
Now I'm making a totally different type of video, but you're able to take the clips from that and get it to Facebook, Instagram. And so that's why, we work together so well. I'm putting my focus on a different platform now, but you really do need to figure out the algorithm, the type, the communication, the timing, the pace, the type of video. Does it need to be fun? Is it serious? Are they searching? All these platforms are so different, and it can be way overwhelming. So if you were to take baby steps towards it, one, you just got to get over the fact that you need to turn the camera on and film a video. Two, you got to get consistent and do that regularly. Three, then you have to get the quality improved, which is involved. If you stick to one platform, you'll be able to do that faster. Right. Then you're talking about, you guys are like a megaphone.
That's right.
Where we can send one voice through it and it just goes everywhere. That's not where everyone should start, but you can then, I think what we really painted is the steps along the way, so you know the rungs of the ladder of where you're headed. And who knows, anyone listening, it could be anywhere in between there, but then it becomes really powerful because it just gets loud.
That's right. Yeah. Which, by the way, I'd like to mention for anybody watching this, my recommended path is making YouTube your primary source of content.
I would agree.
And from there, getting a team to help you go omnipresent everywhere.
The reason why is because you make one video for YouTube and it lives on.
Correct.
Forever.
People keep on discovering you even years after.
Do you know how many videos I've made on Facebook?
They're gone.
Thousands. They're gone.
They're gone.
And I'm like, I should have. Now, I'm very thankful for it because we've gotten that message to so many people and we've really figured out being able to communicate on the platform that is Facebook. But now realizing that if you want to get more out of your efforts, if it is going to be uncomfortable and it is a grind, I would start with YouTube.
Absolutely. So I can tell you, Doc, that you hold the record, by the way. Just a little side note and a highlight. Fun fact, you are the only client that we've ever had in the history of AGM marketing that the first ever social media video posted on one platform went totally nuts and viral. Nobody has ever done that, all right? Yeah. I have done a lot of great channels. Like, I have all my dad stuff, and I manage Dr. Berg's, and I manage, I got a client of mine who's a mentor of mine, Jason Flatlin, as you know, and a lot of these guys that are amazing. Nobody has done what you did, right?
So you're talking about TikTok.
Yeah, we took one YouTube video of Dr. LivinGood, all right? We created, talk about opportunities, right? We created the TikTok profile. It's called LivinGood Daily.
I'd never been on the platform.
Never been on the platform before. Like, he's never even touched it, all right? You never accessed it, never used it.
This is a good story.
We created one clip that was 1 minute long.
Apple cider vinegar.
The first video.
Yeah, you know
first ever post on the platform. 1.5 million views in a matter of a couple of days organically, all right? Insane. All right. So it's the first time that we accomplished that. We haven't been able to repeat that. Your TikTok has been growing steadily, but that one thing was was insane.
This is hilarious. Circling back to where we started, probably a great place to wrap it up is from a perspective of that isn't normal.
Correct.
And please don't wait for that moment. You're going to get way more out of being consistent. And most of us are going to have success by just producing and talking about what we talked about today. But it sure is nice to have that moment after I've worked my tail off for 12 years.
Feels good.
To put together the expertise that you guys bring and some magic happens. It's super fun to be a part of.
I love it.
Whether it does or it doesn't, I'm going to show up tomorrow. I'm going to show up today. I'm going to get 1% better. I'm going to figure out how to make myself better. I'm going to compete against Dr. LivinGood of yesterday and try to solve the suffering that are my customers and the people on the other end. And then hopefully it makes it a lot easier when the virality does happen.
Wow. I think this is one of my favorite interviews of all time. I think we've given people a lot of gold here. They should be making sure that they watch this again, bring a notepad, take all these bullet points, and we gave them a formula for going down this road. It's up to them to execute on it. Yep. It's been amazing, Dr. LivinGood. I would like to end with you giving some advice to entrepreneurs that are watching this show, marketers, on the subject of how to get healthier. I know that they can watch your content, like Dr. LivinGood. If you guys check him out on YouTube, it is one word, all right, 1G, Dr. LivinGood. And you can check him out on TikTok, pretty much everywhere. Mm-hmm. We're all over the place right now. And you can connect with him. He has incredible content. I believe that for entrepreneurs, it is a game changer to have a healthy body full of energy, because you can produce so much more. So what are your thoughts on how to make these people raise the responsibility for their bodies so they can be more productive? How would you give them some advice?
So let's go here. Let's say it all comes true for you. Anything you can imagine in your brain that represents success. The dollar figure's there. You own your own island. You have a helicopter. You have whatever it is. You have a private jet, whatever it is, right? You're on the beach. You've sold the company. You've reached all the dreams you could possibly reach, and you get a sore throat. What's the only thing that matters?
The sore throat. It's a pain in the butt.
So if we don't take care of ourselves along the way, what's the point? Then you are no good to your family, God, your purpose, your finances if you're sick or dead. And no one's coming for you. No one is going to take better care of you than you. Your health is your responsibility. And you can get so much more out of this game that you're playing, this business that you're chasing, this entrepreneurial journey that you're on, if you have a lot more energy, a lot less weight, a lot better food going in. And so I think it is a huge opportunity for you to get so much more out of your business if you pour it into yourself. And at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So you're doing all this for, I would give the whole thing, all of it,
for good
back
health.
To have my dad back.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Everything I've done, every award, hard to say, maybe not the people that we've been able to touch, because I think he had to go down in order to help millions of lives. But I would hand all of that back to have my dad back, because that's how important health is. Well, you're that person for someone else.
And I second that, because I also lost my dad.
Yeah.
And I would do everything to get him back over here, for sure. Give it all away. And it was also bad health issues that led to me not having him, which we lost him too early. I probably had another 10, 12, 15 years that he could have given us. But again, it's so essential to ensure that you take care of yourself along the way. Because sometimes as entrepreneurs, you forget about it, right? And you just think about your business purpose or whatever you have going on, and you forget that you kind of need a body to be in good shape so you can enjoy it along the way, right?
That's right.
It's great stuff, Doc. So again, follow Dr. LivinGood across social media. You should spend definitely a good amount of time watching his stuff because we're going to keep on conquering the world. You are way younger than other people that are out there like Dr. Berg. I'm not going to show this section to Dr. Berg, but you are just getting started by definition, just getting started, even though you come a long way already. And I can't wait to ride this wave with you on the way and impact a lot of people. So again, Doc, thanks for being here with us. We're going to have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Next time you come and visit the
Appreciate
AGM
you guys
headquarters.
and all you're doing to help us get that message out. So
let's keep doing it.
All right.
If you're enjoying this content, please go ahead and subscribe. Help me comment below and let me know if you have any questions about marketing. And I'm on a mission to help as many of you as possible conquer the marketing world. So help me out. Subscribe, hit that button, hit that bell, get notified. Go ahead and subscribe right now.